At the end of the day, no one's special. At the end of the day, I want to work my ass off just as much as you do. But I'm gonna keep working my ass off until I'm successful. Now, I mean, if you don't want to do that, that's one less person for me to worry about. Now you can do your thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, welcome back to the Modern Men Podcast. I'm Riyaad.
Julian.
All right, and today we're gonna be talking about Series 1, Episode 1, why self-improvement is so important. If you want to go ahead and start.
Okay, so generally for everybody to start somewhere, there's always a start. Like for me, I grew up in a very sheltered area, and like for me, a lot of things was already provided for me. And for me, like over time throughout middle school and high school, I slowly started to like get picked on or whatever because like I had like a semi-weak personality. And now, like as I go to college or whatever, like that's obviously has grown, the confidence has grown. But what's changed that is that like 2018, right? I got like picked on or whatever, and then at some point I started working out with my brother. And after that one time, I swear, the first time I worked out, I almost vomited. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like, no, I swear.
That's how you know you're working, though.
Yeah, like I did like God only knows how many push-ups, pull-ups, and what was the other one? Squats. And I just did all that for like 30 days because I think it was like a challenge or whatever. I don't really remember. But the point is that that's where I started from. And then like even like nowadays, like I'm so used to like that habit. I mean, obviously I don't do those 3 exercises every single day, but what I do is that I keep like, okay, the biggest thing that stick with me was like counting calories. And what I noticed is that like nowadays it's like I can't even eat without like having some form of gauge on what I'm eating, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And the reason why all of this connects is because I started as a sheltered person, and then as I grew up, I started like I noticed like I had like a weak personality in middle school and high school, and I noticed that like I started getting picked on or whatever, and I didn't want to keep staying in that same position. Like I wanted to be respected one way or another. So what I chose to do was I started working out, and after that, like over time, it just carried on to other things, and that's where I am now.
Absolutely, that's good. I mean, I am a little bit of on the opposite spectrum, although the reasons as to why we got in the gym is very similar. Being bullied, of course. I like, I can't even tell you how much I am indebted to her. And honestly, I want to do my due diligence as a son just to make sure that she's gets everything that she wants, of course. But it was definitely hard, only because of the fact I was just some 10-year-old um, taking care of my sister for a momentary period of time while my mom was working 2 jobs just to keep us at bay with everything that we need. And it was very, very difficult. Now everything has like settled. Now she's just working a simple job and everything is going well so far. I will say that. But I will say, although I grew up in a single parent household with my mom, she taught me what it was to be, of course, be fortunate, be content with what I have. And not only that, I was fortunate enough to grow up with really good father figures like my uncle, my grandfather. Them to have done, and like multiple, my cousins and my friends, just being exposed with proper people who are educated and like stern on everything, and who had more experience in life, definitely kept me on the right path. I mean, I really can't really stress this enough. I'm so fortunate that although I was grew up in a single parent household, I still wound up having pretty much everything, not everything that I want, but enough to keep me on the right path for sure. Because a lot of people who grew up in my position, definitely most of them tend to go on a darker path because of the fact they weren't exposed properly and things like that. Um, so I will say I'm fortunate enough in that sense. And another thing I want to talk about is contentment. That's one thing my uncle always told me. Contentment is one of the most important things because a lot of people want this, want this, want this, want this. You know what I'm saying? And they forget about what they currently have. You know? And there's nothing wrong with wanting more because I want more. You know? But I am glad with the man I have became, and I am glad with the man that I you know grew up as. But the problem is that a lot of people aren't content, and when you're not content, you wind up choking yourself. Uh, just be happy with what you currently have, but of course, strive for more is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And as you see, like we're literally two people, and we have like opposite things that got us into the gym. And yeah, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I got into the gym because I was bullied just like how he was. Because I was always that skinny Indian kid back in high school. And honestly, I mean, I am glad that this sounds horrible, but I'm glad I got bullied. You know what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't have known where I would have been with my physique, with my mindset, if I wasn't. You know?
Hmm.
And I realized that getting into this physical shape that I am, I realized that a lot of people tend to respect you more. They hold you at a higher standard because of the fact it takes a lot of discipline to have a good physique, you know, eating properly, going to the gym on a regular basis while balancing work and school life, especially since we're college students, you
Yeah.
know? And like it's just like, you know, it's difficult, but it'll work. It'll work. As long as you put your mind to it and you're good with your time management, you'll get it done. So please don't ever think that, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. There's always time. Just make sure you're well adjusted and well prepared about it. That's all it is.
Yeah. And like even if like let's say you don't have access to a gym or whatever, you can always just like do a bunch of like body weight stuff like push ups, pull ups, squats, and etc.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's how I started. That's a good base builder for sure. Push ups, pull ups, and sit ups and things like that.
Yeah.
That's very good to building a base. And then from there, you could invest in a weight vest and things like that and continue doing those basic
Yeah, like
movements.
everybody has to start somewhere, you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. Nobody started off as some mass monster. You know what I'm saying? Everybody
I
started
wish, man. I wish I started as a mass monster. Yeah.
That's cheating.
Nah.
But I mean, but yeah, it goes back to what I was saying about being held at a high standard. You know, if you look at somebody who's fat, you would think that okay, they lack discipline, they lack a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? They can't put the fork down for a moment. Versus a person who's actually in shape, they're like, okay, he has discipline, he's taking care of his diet, he's going to the gym on a regular basis. You know, that's why I'm saying being in physical shape does say a lot about your character,
That's true.
especially as a man.
Yeah. I also noticed that like when you're in shape, it actually makes it a lot easier for you to even be like for you to go into a social atmosphere and to like be more respected and to and generally make new friends. I noticed that when you're in shape or at least like above average, like you don't have to be like completely like maxed out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as soon as like you're noticeably above average, like I noticed it's like very easy for you to like get into social atmospheres and like
Absolutely, because
you
then
know what I mean?
you feel more confident in your own body to talk to other people.
Yeah,
You know?
it's not even like within. I mean like externally. Like
Okay.
if you just like throw out like yourself like as like a value for 1 sec, then like you just notice like if you just do absolutely nothing, right? Like let's say you walk into a gym or like let's say you walk into like certain like settings and like you're like in good shape. You'll notice that like it's very easy for like people to come to you. It's not even you going to them. Like it's very
That's true.
easy. And like let's say you do make the initiative, right? And you go to somebody else like it's very easy for them to just reciprocate and if anything be more receptive to whatever you're saying.
That is true. I do get where you're coming from because
Yeah.
that has happened to me before. You know, because actually, especially outside of the gym sense, you know what I'm saying? Even if you're in like a public area, like a restaurant, you know, then, but it goes back to confidence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know. Yes, you are more comfortable with talking with other people, but when you're confident, right, in your own like demeanor,
Yeah, in
everything,
your
you know
own
what I'm saying?
body and
Your
all
own
that.
body and everything. That's when you're gonna be more confident to like external, like
Yeah.
talk to other
And then
people.
like it actually just benefits everything. Like one thing I believe, it may be weird, but like I believe that like once you're in shape or once you like take care of your physical health, like everything else will come into place.
Come into
Like
play.
your money at some point will come into place. Your mental health. Like think about it. If you're maxed out on your looks or you're maxed out on like how your body is, like the chances of you feeling depressed is like way slimmer than like of an average person, if that makes any sense. So like once you're in shape, every other part of you becomes like everything, it comes together, you know what I mean? It grows with it.
Absolutely, and like that whole depressed topic. I know it is like a sensitive topic to a lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, other than the standpoint of it being like a medical diagnosis, um, let's say it's not a medical diagnosis of depression, right? I think a lot of people can handle it pretty well depending on the scenarios you're in. So, for example, you can confidently say that you're not depressed if you're doing things like you're proactive, if
Mm-hmm.
you're active in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's
Yeah.
physically, mentally, work wise, you know? I feel like if you put yourself in scenarios where you're not doing anything, that's when you'll probably feel depressed. You're not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Like a
Yeah,
sloth.
yeah,
You know?
like inaction.
Inaction, exactly. So, but when you are in action, when you are active, when you are proactive, your mind will be everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You'll be constantly moving. You'll be
And
constantly
then you'll
doing
be
something.
like too
You're
busy
more
to like,
ambitious.
yeah,
You'll be too busy to be depressed. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Uh, Aside from the fact that it's a medical diagnosis,
Yeah, like that's like the exceptional case. Like
That's
we're
the
talking
exception.
about like the majority of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So aside from the medical diagnosis, I feel like some depression is like not necessarily false reality, but it's just like something that like you yourself can get rid of or get like out of, depending on the scenarios you put yourself in.
Yeah, like I agree with you too. I just would like to add like sometimes like people have exceptional cases and like that may require like medical intervention or whatever and like that's beyond like my pay grade personally.
Same
But
here.
but like generally like I feel like if like let's say you're at home, you're not doing much and then like you feel sad like if you put two and two together, I mean it
I
makes
wonder
sense.
why you're sad.
Yeah, like
You're
I
in the
wonder
house
why
doing
like two
nothing,
and two together.
beating your goddamn meat eating
No.
chips all day. Well, what do you think? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And then like let's
Absolutely.
say like you go home, chuck the chicken for like 30 days straight and then
Ooh.
and then you wonder why like you don't got a girlfriend or you wonder why like you don't have like no social life. I mean like like two and two together, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's just, again, it goes back to the scenarios you're in.
Yeah. And like honestly, I feel like the reason why people feel certain things or the reason why things happen to them, like I feel like you know what I feel? I feel like we're way more in control than like what we
Yes,
say that we
absolutely. A
are.
lot of people always blame other things. I'm like,
Yeah,
you're in full
and it's not
control of
even
what you're
other
doing.
things. A lot of the times, people blame other people. Like, let's say, like, I got into an accident and, like, I clearly rear-ended the guy. Like, somehow somebody is gonna blame, like, somehow the driver is gonna blame the other person. You know what I mean?
Then just the other day, you almost
Yeah.
somebody.
We don't talk about that.
We ain't gonna talk about that. But I mean, absolutely, what you're saying is completely valid. A lot of people have the tendency to blame other people, but not take accountability for their own actions.
Exactly.
That's why first, whenever I do things, right, or just any sort of activity, or like if I'm in any dilemma, I first look at myself and I'm like, okay, did I cause the problem? Did I do anything? You know what I'm saying? To get could I have done anything to get myself out of it? You know?
Yep.
Because I feel like everybody puts themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Like here, look, I'll say this. I'm not trying to say like I'm like some highly like superior person when it comes to morality, because then I'll be lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like what I said is true. Like most of the time, like we have more control over what happens to us more than we say we do. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I wanted to say because I noticed that a lot of people they make excuses because of other people or just blaming other people in general, and then what happens is that nothing gets done, like no action, like no time is spent in the gym, no time is spent on like let's say like getting more money, you know what I mean, no time is spent on like doing your homework and going to school and like anything that makes your life better. When you blame like a lot of things, a lot of people or whatever, like at the end of the day nothing gets done, and then you get depressed and then you wonder like, dang, I feel so sad, I don't know why. You know what I mean?
I wonder why. You put yourself in that
goddamn
exactly.
Position. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Other than of course, the medical diagnosis, you put yourself in that position. You can easily get yourself out if you just do something. You know what I'm saying? Find something. You know what I'm saying? Find one thing, do it.
You know, one thing I do, I don't know if it's healthy or not, so, I'm not.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, you know what I do? I try to get myself as busy as possible if I feel a certain way. And sometimes it's not even like I'm doing a bunch of homework or whatever. Sometimes I'm just busy, like either driving around or I'm just staying in the gym for like 2, 3, 4 hours, especially if like I feel a certain way. You know what I mean?
Just to get out of that feeling.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think the more you stay within that mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more you get like how do you say it? It's a good way of putting this. The more you stay within that mindset of being alone and like condensed into like a small area, that's the more you're gonna be in your thoughts. The more you're gonna keep yourself in that negative mindset, honestly. But the more you stay away from that and you take yourself out of those scenarios, like he was just saying, going to the gym, and like let's say he's feeling some type of way and being in the gym for an extra hour or two, that's a good way of getting out of it.
Yeah.
Of course, like putting yourself in a scenario where it's just like, okay, I got myself out of it for this momentary period of time. Now it's time to get back on the horse.
Exactly. And like, I'm not gonna lie, there's some times where I feel like okay, it's time to confront like the elephant in the room, you know what I mean? But like majority of the times, like in my personal opinion, I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, like I say all the time, but what I do is I just keep myself as occupied as possible.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way of putting it, honestly. And that's one thing.
Okay, so my fault. The camera cut out, and we lost, and we forgot where we were. But I forgot what we were talking about. Okay, go.
Okay, well, what we were talking about was the general general conversation as to like his whole not scheme, but like whole idea of how he gets through with depression. Not necessarily depression, but like take yourself out of it. Like, of course, if you're depressed, get yourself out of those scenarios. Get back on the horse.
Yeah,
That kind
be
of thing.
busy.
Be busy at the end.
Always
of the day.
do something.
Yeah. A lot of people, especially in this society, as time progressed, now we have so much resources at our hands. Now people, like compared to back then, where our ancestors were with spears hunting saber-toothed tigers.
I know that sounds so tough.
That sounds tough. Exactly. That while the life was on the line 24/7, you know.
Exactly.
While our lives aren't on the line 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we have each day you want to live it, you know what I'm saying? But now we have so much resources at our hands.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. I'm not gonna lie.
And then, people are just so lazy.
Yeah. No, Phil. I mean, I'm a little lazy, but not that lazy. But here, that's not the point. The point is,
yeah, at least you're keeping it transparent.
It's true. You know, I don't want to sit here and pretend like I'm some like morally superior person, because then I'll be lying. You know, I'm just like anybody else that's watching this right now. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you're always busy, you're always doing something, there's little room for you to feel depressed or feel isolated, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know if like the camera cut out before this moment, but one thing I want to talk about is that if you get yourself in shape, I've noticed that if you're in shape physically, all the other parts of your life, mental part of your life, your social part of your life, and everything in general, even like your money, it gets better. Like everything falls into place when you're in shape. I've noticed that. Is it weird? Maybe, but it makes sense.
I mean, that's completely true. I mean, of course, depending on what your physicality is at, you're viewed differently. Because of course, the way you're shaped it has a lot more other characteristics along with it, discipline, things like that. You know what I'm saying? I think we did discuss this though.
Yeah, but I don't know if we
it was like a recap.
Yeah, I don't know if like we discussed it like before, like the camera cut out.
But we did discuss this to a degree because but it was just like a recap. At the end of the day, especially as a man, this is not just for men. This podcast is not just for men. I don't want people to think that it's for also women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But understand that if you want to self-improve yourself, right, you have to be willing to work.
Work. Yep. Yeah, I mean, and
but the thing is, a lot of times nowadays, nobody wants to work. Everybody wants what's easy.
Yeah, everybody wants to live on easy mode. Like they want to play games, and then and yet they want to reap the rewards of like having a 6-pack abs. They want to reap the reward of having a lot of money, having a great business, and everything else. But like they want all these things, right? And then they barely start in one area. They don't even start on like taking care of themselves as like their own person, like their own presentation.
Absolutely. And I know some people who want to get into like, let's talk about marriage, for instance, right? Yeah. I know some people who want to get into marriage, but you don't even have yourself established yet.
Yeah, I never understood that, because like if you don't love yourself and you don't have yourself and like your identity like secured, and like you're not secure in general about like who you are as a person, like I feel like it just makes you very like gullible, and like in general it's very hard for you to like love somebody as much as possible and be like the best partner you can be if like you don't have yourself established. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Because how do you really, especially from a man's standpoint, how do you expect, right, to take care of a woman if you can't take care of yourself?
Yeah, I've noticed that like a lot of people say that like nowadays like the woman is like the man and like the man is like the woman, but like what I've noticed personally is that like I've noticed nowadays like the roles are like very like grayish. You know what I mean? Like I'm not here. My point is not to assign a gender or role. Yeah. My point here is to say that like when you're like a partner, right, and you guys divide and you conquer, like it's very good. And why do I say this, right? Because it's not even just in marriage or relationships or whatever. It's also in business. Like let's say you want to make a business about like drop shipping or whatever, right? But you have like, let's say like Devin, you're a coder, right? And like you know how to do all of that. But like let's say like your business partner, he was also a coder. He knows how to do all that too. You're at the end of the day, you guys are missing that skill set, that other side of the skill set, which is like marketing and whatever. Yep. You know what I mean? And so it's what I'm trying to say is that it's not even about like controversial things about like couples or whatever and like who should do what. It's about like dividing and conquer, like two people that are the same but have like different skill sets that when you bring them together makes one fantastic partnership. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
trying to get at.
No, agreed. I completely agree. But you see, a lot of times people tend to like not necessarily flip it, but people tend to forget that, and they kind of make people like seem like the bad person about it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like I don't believe like one ideal is correct than the other. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I have my own ideals. But one thing I want to say is that like at the end of the day, what works for you may not work for me. And what works for me may not work for you.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, you do what's best for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. You guys, whoever is watching, you guys would do what's best for you guys, and we would do what's best for us. And like
Exactly.
one more quote, right? Is that like even it doesn't matter what you guys watch, right? You want to take the meat and spit out the bones.
He's
So,
always saying that.
yeah, it's the truth. Like you take the good stuff that relates mostly to you guys, and then all like the bad stuff that you guys feel is nonsense, throw it in the trash.
At the end of the day,
no big deal.
Exactly. At the end of the day, this whole world is opinionated. You know, everybody has their own opinion.
No, humans by nature are judgmental.
Yeah, judgmental. Exactly. No matter what. But at the end of the day, don't be vexed or anything, because what we're saying is that we want what's best for everybody.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I know it was a very controversial topic, but at the end of the day, we want what's best for everybody.
Exactly. And I also hope you guys are entertained by these conversations, because at the end of the day, like even if the cameras weren't rolling, like you'll notice like not many people really talk about or like get deep into like how they feel about certain things within certain topics. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. A lot of people are afraid sometimes.
Exactly.
To talk about
and like it's okay to like like to not say certain things within certain settings, but like let's say like you have a close relationship with like let's say your family member, or you have a close relationship with let's say like your friends or whatever, and you don't like express certain ideals. Like I feel like expressing certain ideals like can provide more of a deeper connection and like more of a understanding of like how somebody thinks. You know what I mean? And plus, I find it to be entertaining, like talking about controversial stuff and how people react within reason.
Within reason, of course, exactly. Because at the end of the day, it goes back to what we were saying. Scope of the moral of this topic. Everybody's judgmental to some degree.
Exactly, and one size doesn't fit all. You know, what works for us will not work for you.
That's true. I know we kind of dissuaded a bit. Let's get back to what we were talking about, which is self-improvement. Why it's important. At the end of the day, self-improvement. This goes to everything. Self-improvement is the most important thing you can do. Only because once you get yourself established, you can make sure that everybody around you
it's true. Like once you have yourself set up, you have enough leverage and you have enough like capabilities to help other people around you. And by proxy, by helping people around you, it makes you feel more fulfilled. So It's a win-win for everybody.
And I don't know if we were talking about this before the cameras cut off, but I personally believe, and you could agree to disagree if you'd like, but I firmly believe if you're in your 20s, you should get yourself established the most.
Yeah, I honestly feel like the younger you get yourself established, the better.
And another thing I want to talk about, especially as a college student, well, I'm done now, but but the point I'm trying to make is that I realize that a lot of people nowadays like to party and do things like have this what is it called? Have momentary happiness. That's a good way to put it. Have momentary happiness. But I think you'll be winning and doing yourself a favor if you get rid of that momentary happiness for a period of time. I'm not saying to, of course, have a balance. Of course, have a balance in life. But sacrifice momentary happiness for long-term growth.
Yeah, that's true. Like you got to think to yourself, like if like there's actually a real thing, right? Like if you write yourself a letter, right? 10 years later, you're 30 years old, and you write yourself a letter, right? And like 10 years later, you're 30 years old. You have to ask yourself, would your 30-year-old self be happy with whatever you're doing right now? Because at the end of the day, like you don't really notice it because like let's say like you're 10 years old, right? And then the things you do at 10 years old, they don't really correlate to what happens to you when you're 20 years old. I'm not talking about the experiences and what you went through. I'm talking about the actions that you guys do, like you do, the actions that you guys do, that you do at 10 years old is not really going to impact you when you're 20 years old. But when you're in your 20s, all the actions that everybody does will affect you when you're going to your 30s. Like you will notice, like let's say you choose to do well, like you choose to get in shape in your 20s, you'll notice that when you're in your 30s. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things you do in your 20s, you'll notice when you're in your 30s. And it's the same thing that goes on like with your life.
Absolutely. And don't ever think that it's too late to start. Like, let's say you're in your 30s right now watching this podcast or 40s. Don't think that you're late. You still have chances unless you're like $4 million in debt.
No,
That's
I
different. Unless you're in debt by so much to a
Yo.
degree. But let's say you just didn't do anything with your life, hypothetically speaking. 'Cause that's what a lot of people aren't doing right now. They have nothing going in their lives right now.
Yep.
You know, doesn't mean you shouldn't start.
Everybody has to start somewhere. Not everybody's gonna have the same starting point.
Starting point, exactly. And not everybody doesn't have the same finish line.
Exactly. It's true.
Exactly. So that's what a lot of people tend to forget, because people always think nowadays like, oh, I didn't start now, let me just give up. That,
No.
Exactly. You get what I'm trying to say though?
Yeah.
A lot of people nowadays are so easy to give up. They start something, they give up. The moral of the story here, my advice to you, don't give up. At the end of the day,
just stick with it. Even if like let's say like what we're doing right now, like we're recording a podcast and like one day we want to be successful.
Yep.
You know, right now,
I don't know if this shit's gonna blow up.
yeah, we don't know, but one thing like you have to keep in mind is just don't give up. Just keep going, no matter what.
Yep.
Even if like let's say like 30 or 20 or 10 people or 100 people they watch your stuff, right? Just don't give up. Like one day, you know, your efforts will show. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be in a year, maybe like 5-10 years when like, you know, Tesla becomes like, you know, $1,000, who knows?
Why Tesla out of all the stocks? But I get what you're saying though. It's just like at the end of the day, just get out of that habit of giving up. Again, that, like I said, goes back to what we were saying earlier. Put yourself in scenarios, put yourself in positions where you can surround yourself with better people so that you can push yourself forward more. Because I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of people, they think they could do things on their own, but sometimes you need a little bit of guidance.
Yeah,
because I'll be honest with you, I fell off the wagon a couple of times, but I surrounded myself with people like you. I was fortunate enough to surround myself with people like my uncles, right? My producer Daniel Hudson.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like I surrounded myself with people that held me accountable for my wrong actions.
Yeah.
You know, who put me in my place, who told me like, bro, you're not doing the right thing, bro. What are you falling off for, bro? Why are you skipping the gym? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. So I can keep myself on the track.
Yeah. No,
and if I do it to you and you don't like me, you don't gotta be my friend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like it's true. Like whoever you guys hang around with is gonna be you. Like it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but if you hang around a bunch of drug dealers, maybe like a year or two, you're gonna be a drug dealer too. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like let's say you're a homeless person, right? And then you meet a bunch of rich people. You may not be rich tomorrow. You may not be rich in a year, but give it like 2, 3, 4 years, you hang around with those same people, you're gonna be rich with them. Mark my words. Like a lot of people like to say, like, I'm an exception. I can hang around with these people. I'm an exception. No, you're not an exception. Like an exception, like statistically, being an exception is like decimals away from zero. Like to be an exception, like you have to actually be special, and nobody's special in this world. I don't believe I'm special.
Yeah, I don't believe
He's not special. You know,
exactly.
Whatever we do, you guys can do too. You know, like one day when we're successful, you guys can do the exact same thing. You guys can be successful too. Anything is possible in this world. If you think you're an exception, you're not.
Exactly.
It's the truth.
That's true. Harsh way of putting it, but it's the truth. It's the harsh truth. At the end of the day, no one's special. At the end of the day, I want to work my ass off just as much as you do. But I'm going to keep working my ass off until I'm successful. Yeah. Now, I mean, if you don't want to do that, that's one less person for me to worry about. Yeah. You know? Now, you can do your thing, you know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, keep working. That's my advice to you.
Don't give up. Just whatever you guys or whatever anybody has going, if you just keep going, you'll notice. Like even the gym. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I didn't notice like significant progress in the gym. Not during my high school, because remember, I don't know if the camera rolled out or not, but I started the gym in May 2018, like around high school time, sophomore year, right? I didn't actually notice any progress, like any significant progress like other people would notice until I was in Essex. I was in junior college. I was like a sophomore, you know what I mean? And that's when like I noticed. But like what I'm trying to express to you is that don't give up. Like it can be it may not be months, it may be years, but you'll notice. Like you're getting somewhere.
Substantial change. Exactly, yeah. again, if we're not solely talking about the gym, but just life in general. Success doesn't happen overnight.
I wish, man.
I
wish.
Everybody will be rich.
Exactly,
But
man.
success doesn't happen overnight. You have to keep pushing. Work, work, work. Like Ronaldo said, work, 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 work. Right? And just keep working.
Exactly. Just don't stop.
That's all it is.
Just keep going. I mean, at some point, it's going to work itself out. If you just do what you have to do, and everything will work itself out. You know
and Ronaldo is one. If we're talking about celebrities, Ronaldo came from nothing. I'm talking about what is he? Ecuadorian.
No,
Portuguese. Sorry, Ronaldo. But Portuguese. And sorry to all those
that watch soccer.
That watch soccer. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But Portuguese. He came from nothing. He came from nothing. I'm talking about when he was in Portugal at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Father died. He was with his mother, and he lived in a house that literally was a tent house. And I'm talking about the house, like it's not even a house, but it was just so hot, you know. But he was still waking up every morning, training.
And
look at him now. Look at him now.
Yeah.
He didn't give up, and that's what I'm trying to say.
Just don't give up.
We don't give up, and we're in a society where we have everything we want. Find something, not everything we want, but like we have so much resources. During his time, he had resources, but not as much. He wasn't, how do you say, exposed to the resources.
Yeah, he wasn't. He didn't have access to as much things.
Exactly, as much as other people do. If you're exposed to the resources, utilize it. Please utilize it, because you're only sacrificing your own self at that point. You're only shooting yourself in the foot at that point. That's what I believe.
Yeah, like you said, like if you have an opportunity presented to you, you take advantage of it. I mean, I'm like I said before. Like, I'm not saying that, like, I'm, like, on a high moral superior, but what I'm trying to say is that if you have something in front of you, capitalize on it. Like, before you know it, you'll get to where you want to get to.
Absolutely. I mean, it's completely understandable, honestly. And it just goes back to everything. Because, like, a lot of people tend to forget about, of course, contentment, time management.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what my uncle said, but it was just it stuck out to me so much, right? That's how I revolve my life. There's 4 important things in life: contentment, right? Patience. A lot of times people don't understand about patience. Your time will come, honestly, and that's what I lacked for a momentary period of time. Even at this age, I lacked patience because I wanted it fast. But I realized success doesn't happen overnight. That's what I lacked for a momentary period of time. I had no patience. And I remember there was just recently, like about a couple months ago, I was sitting down in my house and my uncle came and I was over here complaining, like, not necessarily complaining, but like I was just saying, like, oh my God, like, when am I going to be successful? When is it going to be my time? I'm doing everything I can. And you know what he told me?
What?
He said, just keep doing what you're doing.
And it's going to come. It'll work itself.
Just keep working. Keep doing what you're doing, and it's gonna come.
Yeah, I believe that too. Like, I feel like it works for everything. To me.
And what's so funny is that like I didn't I was like I just told him to kick rocks pretty much, right? Right? I just told him to kick rocks, man. I don't believe in that. But as time progressed,
it worked itself out.
Look what happened. And this was just a couple months ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It worked itself out, right? Now at this point in time, college is done. I'm just living my life, and I'm just making sure that I do everything in my power to make sure that I'm on the right path. And of course, every opportunity that I'm given, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
You know?
So, like, as you guys noticed, it was a lot more content, and a lot of the conversations were actually, I believe, like, this episode and this podcast is way better than the first one that we did, personally, because, like, the conversations were a lot more interesting, and what was the word? Controversial things, like, has been talked about. But, like, if you guys like what you guys see, be sure to subscribe and turn the notifications on, because trust me, we try to put on the podcast, like, every week, and if life gets busy, every other week.
And one thing that's different about us, we're transparent. You see how we're talking about, I don't know if you guys heard us multiple times, but we were like, oh, I don't know what we were talking about last...
I don't remember, bro.
Exactly. Like, we're trying to keep it as transparent.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it as, like, raw as possible.
Like, we don't want to give you, like, edited videos, because we know that at the end of the day, that's not what reality is.
Exactly. Reality isn't edited.
Exactly. Where giving you everything we can. You know what I'm saying? We're cursing. I mean, we don't want to curse.
not me.
Not you. But everybody has cursed before, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But a lot of people like to put out this false persona.
Yeah, like
We're not false people.
everybody
We're
wants to
giving
show like their best self. But like
Exactly.
we're just, camera rolls, we just talk.
We're not showing you just our best versions. We're showing you our bad portions as well. You know what I'm saying? Everything that we've done, everything that we've said, has all been the truth.
You know what's the best part is I don't think we ever talked about is like as like we keep going and we keep like uploading more podcasts, right? Like and like both of us, right? We're both doing our own thing to like be better. Like for me, like I'm trying to get more and more in shape. Like it would be crazy, like let's say like 2026 and like we just noticed like the changes, like let's say changes in you, the changes in me,
Absolutely.
like in a much more like I want to say upgraded like version of ourselves, like a more improved version of ourselves. And like I hope that the way like we conduct things is way better. I hope everything improves.
I hope
to
we're
be
all
honest.
benefiting at the end of the day. Not just us, but you guys.
Yeah, I hope
you
you
say,
guys
right?
are benefiting with us.
That's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, no, absolutely.
I was like, what the? Okay.
No, wait. Last thing before we go, honestly, write things down as well. Note things down. I know nobody likes to write things down or like read things, right? But just for your own thing, journal. You know what I'm saying? Just like write your accomplishments, set some goals. You know what I'm saying?
Make like a spreadsheet.
Make like a spreadsheet. I mean, you do spreadsheets. I do like things in my notes.
Yeah.
You know, write things down. You know,
Write
did you
things
achieve
down.
it? Okay, short-term goals, long-term goals. Achieve them. Once they're achieved, set another one. You know, things like that. Now, I'm not saying that I'm some perfection. Like I'm a perfectionist. You know what I'm saying? I try to make everything as perfect as possible.
Mhm.
But doesn't mean I'm perfect. I'm not perfect, and I still have things that I want to achieve, and I want you guys to be alongside with me, just like I want you to be alongside with me. We want you guys to be alongside with us as we're improving.
Exactly. If we're improving, we want you guys to improve.
Exactly, and we're going to be giving you guys as much content as possible. So feel free to comment. Feel free to let us know what you want us to
And
talk
subscribe.
about.
Biggest
And
thing.
Exactly.
Subscribe. The more subscribers, the merrier. You know, you guys get notified. Everybody gets notified. Everybody lives in a happy world. Okay? I hope you guys like the content.
Absolutely.
Like, comment, subscribe. Have a wonderful day.